Good day, podcast community. Pete Kane here, Podcast Pete, community coach, podcaster, and author. And I have a special guest on the show. We met at Rotary, and I loved what Jeff did. And I've been wanting to get him on the show to kind of go into his story about how something like this can happen. So, Jeff, tell our viewers who you are, what you do, and who you serve, and then we'll get into the podcast.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Pete, for having me on today. I really appreciate it. I'm happy to tell you about our story and kind of where we are today. So, as Pete mentioned, I'm Jeff Brawand. I'm originally from Cincinnati, Ohio. Moved down here in 2007 to work for Delta Airlines, and started to see. I was fresh out of college. Started to see that there wasn't really an easy way to meet people out of college. In college, you're very fortunate enough. I was actually part of Rotaract at the University of Cincinnati, helped start that. And it was very easy in college to meet new people, network. And once you graduate, you kind of have to get out of your comfort zone and kind of really spread your wings a bit and figure out, all right, I'm in the real world. How do I meet new people? So when I moved down here in 2007, I tried kickball and softball to try to meet new friends in the area. But we all get a little older, and you can't run as hard as you could maybe in high school and college. And you start to realize that, all right, I got to do something else. And so that's where cornhole stemmed. So cornhole was founded originally in Cincinnati, Ohio. Ooh. That's what they say. And so with that, I really missed playing it. I used to grow up playing it with my dad all the time in the backyard. And so down here really started this league, Cornhole Atl, in 2011 to meet new people. So started playing in a park in downtown Atlanta. There was like 30 of us, and it was great. Everyone really enjoyed it. But then the issue we started encountering, funny enough, a SWAT team showed up one night and raided cornhole because kids were throwing objects at the park, is what they said.
Whoa.
Yeah, like Atlanta PD showed up in riot gear and everything.
Wild.
It was wild. I guess one of the neighbors called the police.
Yeah.
Anyways, because of that, it was actually a blessing in disguise. We pivoted to playing at bars, breweries, mixed-use developments such as the Battery or the Avalon, places like that, where you don't have to be as concerned with permits or alcohol or anything sort of like stuff like that. So it really took off from there and evolved into really a social sport.
Yeah.
What started with 30 people, now we've got about 50 locations across the state of Georgia and about 4,000 people that play each and every week with us. So it started with our leagues. That's kind of our bread and butter. Probably about 85% of what we do day to day is our cornhole leagues. So playing at Logan Farm Park in Ackworth to playing in downtown Woodstock. That's kind of our weekly leagues, is kind of our bread and butter. But how we connected, Pete, is obviously kind of around some of the nonprofit work that we've done as well. And so we do a lot of nonprofit or even corporate events as well. But from a nonprofit side, it's really grown over the last 6 years, especially since COVID, where a lot of organizations have tried to pivot away from golf tournaments in particular.
Absolutely.
Just because golf tends to be primarily male focused and you have to be good at playing. And so we've had a lot of organizations come to us and say, hey, can you run a cornhole tournament for us? And so we love doing that because it's more inclusive. You can play it anywhere. We can set it up at a green space or at a brewery, or where you pick where you want to go instead of at just a singular golf course. And so the tournaments usually only last, 2.5 to 3.5 hours, which is pretty much people's attention span these days.
Right.
And so it's been great to do that. In particular, but besides Smoke on the Lake that we did for you all, I'm really proud of one of our largest events, which I thought I'd highlight too. We run an event every year for the Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation. It's actually put on by Marsh McLennan and Associates, an insurance brokerage, MMA. And they do it every year with us. They've been doing it for 6 years. And we raised $650,000 from a one-day cornhole tournament.
Holy mackerel.
So, they do a lot of activations with their like Travelers Insurance and Hartford Insurance. They get, big chunks of money for board sponsorships from those brands.
Mm-hmm.
And then they bring out, I think it's close to about 100 teams to play on a Thursday evening.
Wow.
And $650,000 goes to the Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation. So it's really cool what this does. And the way I look at it too, Pete, is less so we do less of sport. Like, this is not really what I'm in the business of, is not really a sport.
Right.
We're in the business of networking, bringing community together. Cornhole is just a way to do it. I mean, we could do this with chess or whatever it is.
Right.
We're just good at kind of bringing people together. And so about 6 years ago, we added on a bocce league, the Italian game where you roll a ball. That's really taken off as well. And so now we do both cornhole and bocce, and it's been really, really cool to see it.
Wow. To have an impact like Marsh McClellan, and I know somebody at the church that works for them.
Oh, cool.
So they're one of the biggest. And
yeah, they're one of the biggest.
Yeah, recognizing how putting together something over an evening can have that much impact. I ran a golf tournament for Rotary years ago. It's a lot of work.
Oh, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
And it's like a year thing, and you're just like hoping that all the weather's going to go right, everything's going, and finding the right golfers. And Correct. It is kind of very common. Yeah. So you're not doing anything unusual. What was the biggest surprise when you started dipping your toe into the charity and the fundraising? What surprised you the most when you were putting that together?
Yeah, I think the biggest surprise there was that a lot of these organizations, they don't really know how to do it. Mm-hmm. You mentioned golf, obviously. A lot of people think that they're experts in this, and a lot of the times they're not. And so they look to us to be kind of the expert of it and say, hey, we trust you. You need to kind of take our hand and show us how to actually execute on all this stuff. And so we have a team that specializes here at Cornhole Atl only in tournaments, nonprofit tournaments. And Virginia and her team are fantastic at kind of leading everyone and say, hey, a month out, you want to make sure you hit up everybody with email communication, social media. Just as you probably realize with golf, everyone waits till the last minute to register for these sorts of things. And so being patient, not getting discouraged, and just making sure you kind of follow a plan is key. So I think that's kind of the biggest thing there, is just making sure you follow a plan. And we definitely help to provide that plan to get you to the right spot.
I'm familiar with cornhole. I've done it for years. For somebody that's not, kind of explain to them the mechanics of it, the social work, and just why it has become so popular with groups.
Yeah, sure. Happy to. So with cornhole, the game is fairly simple. So it's basically two wooden boards. They're made out of plywood. Mm-hmm. You set them 27 feet apart from each other. So one board would be here, and then 27 feet away would be another board. It's a 2 foot by 3 foot piece of plywood with a hole in the middle of it. And so it's an angled board. And so what you do is I would get 4 bags. And if I'm playing against Pete would get his 4 bags. And we'd take turns tossing to that board 27 feet away. And then you just add up the points. And so if you miss the board completely, it's no points. If you get it on the board, it's 1 point. And if you get in the hole, it's 3 points. Mm-hmm. So when I'm throwing all 4 of my bags, and let's say all 4 go on the board, I would get 4 points. And Pete is a really good cornhole player, and he throws all his bags, and all 4 go in the hole. he would get 12 points. And so we would add up the difference. So it'd be Pete's 12 minus my 4 would be 8 points for Pete. Okay. So you do that until you go all the way up to 21 points. And then we'd go down the other side and throw it back, and you go all the way up to hit 21 points. So that's kind of the general gist of it. And I think what really propelled it, oddly enough, was kind of COVID, because during COVID, early on when it was the social distancing, nobody knew where this was coming from. We took spring off, obviously, of COVID year. And then summer, we were right back at it because we were outside and people were allowed to bring their own cornhole bags. So they weren't having to touch our bags because nobody knew where this was coming from. And, you're 27 feet up away from each other. So you're very socially distanced. So that part of it really propelled the popularity of it. There's also the American Cornhole League and the American Cornhole Organization. They're two national brands that exist, and they do a lot of stuff on ESPN as well. So I think that's given it a lot of notoriety. So that's definitely helped. But for us, for Cornhole ATL, our biggest thing is offering different skill level divisions. So we have beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And 80% of our players are beginner, intermediate, and only 20% are advanced. And that's kind of intentional. We like to be the approachable league where, if Pete's playing in his backyard, then you would join our league. And if you want to be a more, wear your headphones, only drink a water, not a beer, and not talk with anybody, then you can go play in the ACL, ESPN Cornhole League if you want. But for us, I want to be high-fiving with my opponent next to me when he makes a good shot.
Yeah.
And when my partner, when she's throwing back, I want to make sure that, I'm cheering her as well. So just making it more of a social sport.
Yeah. My son-in-law, we were talking before we started, they would get together, and I don't remember the bar. I think it was one in Ackworth, whatever what it was.
Sure, yeah.
Getting people together, having activities to just kind of like, and the level, because they were at, I don't remember the exact level, but they moved up from 1 year.
Yeah.
And, it's almost like that Alta to make it more competitive as you keep anteing up your team. You
Correct.
Go to a different level, which challenges you.
Exactly.
And, it was like he looked forward to it so much because it was with guys just hanging out and competing, but having fun competing.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Can you look at next year? Because it always is, leveling up, like going to the next level, whether we're competing in a league and you have your beginners, intermediates. What do you look forward the most next year to level up, Cornhole ATL?
Yeah, Pete, that's a very good question. And kind of the timing of it is impeccable. So we're going to be expanding outside the state next year. So that's kind of our 2027 goal. And so we haven't picked the exact markets yet. But obviously having ATL in our brand name doesn't really help us. Yeah. So we're going to be launching a new brand here in January. The name is still TBD, but we're going to be launching a new brand early next year outside of the state. Obviously Cornhole ATL has got a lot of brand recognition in the state, so I'm a little hesitant to do a name change inside the state of Georgia. But for outside the state, we plan to be launching a new brand so that we can expand into other markets kind of close by. And as an entrepreneur, having done this for 15 years now, it's a little scary. You've started this baby. You don't really know how to do it. You're as every entrepreneur is, you're kind of in a silo, and just learning from others when you can to help grow it. So that's kind of what our goal is for next year, is to grow into other markets and, take it from the beginner level to the intermediate level and see
Right.
what happens.
What what's the challenge when you look at other states and you got the brand recognition here in Atlanta and the
Yeah.
surrounding cities? What would be the challenge that you would think of stepping into other states? Are there competing like Cornhole ATL in other states, or what does the
Yeah.
landscape look like?
Yeah. Good question. Yeah. There are other organizations that do this. Take, for example, just up the street, Chattanooga. There's like a
Hmm.
Chattanooga Sports League, and, they offer softball, kickball, volleyball, and also cornhole. Uh, And so that's probably a challenge, but I just feel that with our model of the different skill level divisions,
Hmm.
that gives us kind of an easier way to get in and kind of penetrate the market.
Right.
Um, what we also have going for us is we do a big statewide tournament for the winners of each division at each location.
Hmm.
So if you win, the Ackworth League in the beginner division, then you qualify for our Saturday end of season tournament against all the other against all the other locations in the beginner division.
Okay.
And funny enough, we call it our state tournament.
Uh,
Uh, and,
I love it.
and, and so I think that's kind of our biggest draw that we'll have once we go into
Yeah.
these other markets is being able to say, hey, Chattanooga or Huntsville or wherever else we had a league. Now that you've won that league, you get to qualify for we'll call it, our nationwide tournament or
Right.
nationwide tournament, whatever it is, Southeast tournament. And so I think that gives us a little bit more leverage because people want to be able to compete and play people not
Yeah.
just in their league, but kind of in a bigger area. So that's kind of how we're combating any sort of competition that we see.
I love it. When I look at sports and things that we do as we get a little older, a lot of my friends are playing pickleball, but there's
Yep.
injuries to pickleball. It's
That's
like,
right.
and it's like, yeah, you're not running like you were playing in tennis, but you're twisting a knee, you're, turning an ankle, and you're getting injured because, that weekend warrior comes
Yep.
up. I don't know too many injuries in in
So,
in cornhole. Is it
you
like
know,
go out your hand or something?
that's funny, Pete. So we actually have a little tagline we use for that.
Yeah,
Because people were comparing us to like a pickleball or something like, oh my God, I got injured over there. I need something a little less impactful. So we like to say the worst injury you're going to have with us is a hangover. Um, so that's kind of the way we see it. But in the same vein, as you've probably heard, there's also a big shift towards less alcohol.
yes,
People
yes. I have.
are
Yep.
like the 20-year-olds are looking for activities that are not focused around alcohol. And so
Right.
when I started this 15 years ago, sure, that's what it was. The worst the worst injury was a hangover. But more recently, in the last 5-6 years, we've seen this shift away from alcohol. And so we've kind of had to change a lot of our marketing too, where it's less so focused on just alcohol,
Hmm.
um, and more so focused just on the socialization part of it, which we've seen kind of come to fruition. A lot of that stuff has changed and been great for us so far. But to your injury thing, the worst injury was a hangover. And even you wouldn't believe it. We have to, as any business does, you got to carry an insurance policy on it, and to get somebody to underwrite a cornhole league, you've got to start tying low for an insurance company. That's like, what are we covering here? Uh, and
Yeah.
so, we're part of a social sport industry association,
Yeah.
and they've got insurance brokers that help with this sort of stuff. And they're like, honestly, the biggest thing is, I guess if somebody throws a cornhole bag and hits somebody in the head or something, like
Right.
that's usually the biggest thing. But no, the worst injury you have is a hangover.
Awesome. I work with nonprofits, and I try to tell them that you're passionate about your nonprofit, but there's thousands of them. So
Yeah.
you got to separate yourself, and emotionally, you have to connect with people. So I want you to go a little bit deeper into the nonprofit way of of raising money, because if you can't raise money in nonprofit, you're going to have minimal impact.
That's
And
correct.
the example with Marsh McClellan is a great one. Talk a little bit about that aspect of raising money for nonprofits and being
Yeah.
able to help them in their journey.
Yeah, sure. Happy to. So, with I'm just thinking of like the top 5 tournaments we run. They're all very similar in kind of what they do. And
Mhm.
so, you've got registration fees for people to play, much like a golf outing, where you're going to charge them, $100 for a team of 2 or whatever the entry fee is.
Right.
And in the grand scheme of things, that $100, whatever it is, it's going to be hard to get a lot of teams to pay $100. With MMA, they get like they get 100 teams at, I don't know what they charge because they handle the registration, but the player registration is not really the focus of raising of the funds.
Mhm.
Where the focus really comes in is really the sponsorship part. Having MMA's team go out and get sponsors to do some sort of activation on site. And with us, where we're able to help is our biggest activation from a sponsorship is actually custom branded cornhole boards.
Mm.
So we ran an event this weekend for the Max Groover Foundation up in Roswell, and they charged, I think it was like $100 a team of 2. I think they got 30 teams. So, $3,000, great. That's what they collected from registrations. But where they really made their money was, sponsored cornhole boards. And so we produce the cornhole board. We take these plain boards and run them through a giant printer, and print directly onto the wood. And so let's say they would go to a Coca-Cola and say, hey, Coca-Cola, we want to have you as a sponsor. We'd print this board for them. We charge them, I think it's like $450 a set of boards. And then they go out and they sell it to Coca-Cola, and whatever they get off of that board, I mean, they treat it almost like a whole sponsor on a golf outing.
Mm-hmm.
If they get $1,000, they get the spread, or if they sell it for $5,000, they get the spread. But then at the end of the cornhole tournament, and that cornhole board would be used during the cornhole tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody playing it would see that's a sponsor. And then at the end of the cornhole tournament, that sponsor actually gets to take that board home with them. And so that's kind of a cool, very attractive piece of it, because usually at a golf outing, you get, the sign that's on hole number 1 that says, hole sponsored by. But here you get like an actual tangible takeaway. And these boards are very, very nice boards. And now they can use it for any sort of activation they want to use it for. And so that's really where the popularity of sponsorships come into play. And that's really how you make a lot more of this money for these nonprofits is really these custom branded boards that are then used in the cornhole tournament itself.
That's awesome. You know, as an entrepreneur, we're seeing technology moving fast, AIs, at an accelerating pace. How are you using like AI as an entrepreneur that you could share with us?
Oh my God, Peace. It's crazy how much we're using AI.
Mm-hmm.
I never would have thought that I would be using AI in the cornhole world. Like it's like, where would you use it? I use Claude almost daily, if not hourly, in this world of business. One of the biggest ways I use it currently is basically as a board of directors for me. When we look to expand outside the state, being able to use it as kind of a right-hand person that I can bounce ideas off of, see if it's the right move. When it comes to our leagues, I use it daily for checking in on how registration counts are doing and seeing how things are trending versus past years. And then even from an operational side, our biggest hurdle is we're an outdoor sports league. And so weather is our kryptonite. And so we use AI. We get 2 automated messages every day, one in the morning and one in the afternoon, that literally tells us what the weather is going to be for the specific leagues we're playing at that evening.
Right.
So we can really make good decisions as to whether or not we need to cancel the league or if we're still going to be on. So I use, like I said, I use AI all day long just to help me more efficiently run the business. And it's really, I use it more for in-depth analytics, less so for like writing emails and stuff for me,
Right.
but more so just to be able to bounce ideas off of somebody. Because when you're a solopreneur or you're running this business, I have a team of 3 people, full-time employees on my team. They're handling operations and account management and tournaments and weather. I need to be able to, have somebody or something I can kind of bounce ideas off of. And so that's kind of how I use it right now.
That is so good. I've seen the evolution because I had my AI moment for about 4 years ago, and my partner's an AI has an AI agency. So he would always say, Pete, how are you using AI? And I said, I don't have time for that stuff. And then I did my first course. I about fell out of my chair because I was like, no way. This is like take me 6 months to a year to form it because I'm not like a word.
It's crazy.
But it just gave me the framework and it opened up my eyes to how powerful. Now it knows me, and you're right, like a board of directors, it's like you're talking with somebody on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Give you feedback, which is so important.
So important. And we've
yourself.
And we've been able to hook it up directly to kind of our back-end registration platform for the leagues. So it can mine that data for me. And literally, like I ran it this morning, it can spit out kind of where we stand with registrations, which leagues we need to be concerned about, which leagues we need to get a little bit more focus on. And so it really just helps to give you stuff. Obviously, you got to check it, but it gives you the stuff to really start making actionable things off of. So no, it's been great. It's been fantastic.
How, as an entrepreneur, we love challenges. How do you challenge yourself on a daily basis?
Yeah. I'd say right now it's around this rebrand for outside the state and expansion. So I'd say prior to that, it was really being able to see where we can add new league locations and how we can grow those league locations, the existing ones. Because for us, it's a lot easier to grow an existing league than it is to bring on a new location and start it from the ground up.
Right.
And so that's kind of how I challenge myself, is being an extrovert, putting myself out there, meeting with the venues, maybe going out there and putting out some new marketing materials to basically drum up some more new players. I'd say that's probably how it is for me. But also, the other thing I'd say to challenge myself is making sure I'm not doing all the jobs within the company myself and doing better at delegating to my employees. That's probably been the hardest challenge, and something I've done to really challenge myself is, this has been my baby for 15 years, making sure that I know that I can give stuff to my employees and that they can actually take it on. And they've done a fantastic job of being able to do that as well.
That is awesome. So if you were like giving advice to a 20-year-old Jeff, and you could give him one piece of advice, what would you tell him?
Oh man. One piece of advice, 20-year-old Jeff. I would say it's not going to be easy. You got to stick to it. And so don't be afraid to make mistakes, because things are all going to work out. In our example of how the SWAT team kind of rated us at that league, it was a little disheartening when when the police show up. You're like, oh my gosh, how do I get over this hurdle? And so being able to kind of find a solution, and it ended up being the ideal solution, being able to pivot away, bring in new venues. So I'd say that 20-year-old Jeff is do that. And then on a personal level, I'd tell 20-year-old Jeff to start investing in the stock market as soon as you can, because saving, and just making sure you do that. That's something I remember from my finance professor back in college. So I think that pays off dividends for people as long as you start that early.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is great advice. What would you say when you look at like the future and you look at expanding into different markets, what excites you the most about that part of the business?
Yeah, I think the new challenges that come with it.
Yeah.
Um, the new challenges, but also being able to give my staff the opportunity to be the ones to now execute and grow those markets. I did it. I feel like I did for the last 15 years. I did Georgia and I grew Georgia. And now being able to go to these new markets, I'm excited about having my staff go to those markets and grow those markets. So I see a lot of growth opportunity, not just for us as a company, but for my employees individually as well.
Awesome. A lot of times on social media, we only see the good things in a journey, and
Yep.
we don't really, open up the hood and see what goes on. 10 plus years as an entrepreneur is a long time.
Yeah.
What would you say? What was a time when, besides the SWAT team showing up at the park, what challenges hit you right in the side of the head, and you had to get better or improve or kind of reset that you might be able to share with us?
Yeah, sure. I think probably the biggest stuff there is being able to take criticism from players.
Mm-hmm.
As you grow, when you have 30 people in year one, you're not going to get much feedback, both positive or negative.
Mm-hmm.
But, in 2020, when we're at, 1,500 to 2,000 players, you're a lot bigger now. And not everything's going to run the way it should.
Mm-hmm.
You might have as we call them, referee. You might have a referee not even show up, and players are standing out there wondering who's running this show.
Mm-hmm.
Or the cornhole boards might have broken legs, and now you don't know how to run the league. And so being able to kind of roll with those punches
Mm-hmm.
and not take criticism personally from the players has been one of the biggest things. Being able to say like, hey, sorry, here's how we're fixing the problem, less so about like taking it personal and just figuring out ways to really grow it.
Mm. As an entrepreneur's journey, there's highs and lows. When you look back, what are you most proud of at this moment of what you've been able to accomplish in growing, cornhole into something that you have today?
Yeah. Biggest thing. Actually, can you repeat that question again? I want to make sure I answer it correctly.
Like, what are you most proud of when you look back and
Yeah.
reflect?
So it's funny, Pete. You'd think I'd say like growing the Cornhole League. I'm actually most proud of what I've been able to do for our staff.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to give my employees a job, something that they quit their full-time jobs for,
Mm-hmm.
and now this is what they do for a living. That has been really the biggest thing I'm most proud of. Being able to have a great staff
Mm-hmm.
who this is what they do day to day. So no, that's definitely it.
That's so good. Is there any seasonality to cornhole?
There is, yeah, there's quite a bit. So our biggest seasons are spring and fall.
Okay.
And then those are kind of our two biggest. Our second tier is summer, and then our lowest is winter.
Mm-hmm. What do you do like in the winter when you have your staff? What are you doing to prepare, or what's that process look like?
Yeah, sure.
Time.
So what we do is we actually shifted our seasons around this year. And so our spring, summer, and now we do a late summer and then a fall. So we did 4 seasons starting in March and ending in November.
Mm-hmm.
And then our December season is usually our season is 7 weeks. Our winter season is just a 4-week, we call it a mini season, in January, February. And so it's for those diehard players that want to get out there and actually be in the freezing cold. And that's fine. They can go for it.
Yeah.
But it allows us to really catch up and prepare for that big, people want to get out of the house spring season where they can then get out there and actually be ready for it. So we kind of treat December, January, February as a slow time for us, but it lets our staff catch up and get ready for the full on, 4 seasons kind of after that.
Yeah. What would you say as an entrepreneur to another entrepreneur that's just starting, what was the biggest surprise in your journey that you would share with somebody?
Ooh. Biggest surprise, we've been very fortunate that we've had a lot of success with these leagues. There's other entrepreneurs that, go out of business and don't have success.
Right.
I would say the biggest thing is be prepared for the success. When I started this, I had the 30 people, the 1 location, and it quickly ramped up after that. And I don't think I was prepared for it. It's like, oh my goodness, you got to get a legit website. You got to get, make sure all of your insurance, you got to make sure the legal side of it is set up correctly. And so it's like, I would tell somebody, be prepared for it to take off because you never know. It might take off in 6 months. And if you're not prepared and, something happens, or you need to have more money on hand, or you need to have storage space like a warehouse, or you need to have a company car to transport, like have stuff ready in the wings, ready to go, so that when the demand outpaces the supply, you've actually got stuff ready to go.
That's so good. Do you find that there was a mentor or a person in your journey that stepped in to help you through the growth and through the journey that you could share with us?
Sure. Sadly, there wasn't.
Okay.
I didn't really have a mentor that helped me through this. What I would say is I looked at other sports leagues in the area and saw kind of what they were doing and saw, okay, here's how they did it, here's how they function, and tried to do something similar. So I would say there's that portion of it, but when it comes to having a mentor, no. And I wish I did. It would have made the journey maybe a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Maybe everything that happened in 15 years would have been compressed into 5 years. So yeah, sadly I don't, but I hope that one day I could be that mentor for somebody that's looking for it.
Yeah, because as I heard you speak at Rotary, and you were talking about the fundraising part and the nonprofit, when I met Virginia, that's what I was surprised about, what the potential to raise money in a creative way, a fun way, that I think when just from an outsider, and I don't know for as much as obviously you do, but do you feel that when you step out of your world here in Georgia and Atlanta, that others don't have that kind of perspective of an upside? Are they just running it as a recreation league for the most part? Or do some of them see it like you see it as a way for companies to really step up ways to raise money and be able
100%.
Really? Okay.
100%. Yeah. And we've been running a nonprofit cornhole tournament once a year in Huntsville, Alabama. Okay. And they have been so happy with everything that we've shown them. They've actually gone to nonprofit conventions and told other nonprofits about us.
Mm.
And so we've been in touch with other companies or other organizations in Lexington, Kentucky, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So we've already done a couple one-off nonprofit events.
Yeah.
Because, these other organizations see how, first of all, how easy it is for them, because
Mm-hmm.
they only have to focus on the sponsorship part of it.
Right.
They can trust us for the day of running of the event.
Yes.
And so it just makes it way, way easier for them to be able to raise money.
Ooh, yeah, that's what gets me excited the most, because I know what it takes to run a golf tournament.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
know that everybody tends to have one, and you got to stand out. You got to be unique. You got to be different. And when you bring something that when people can get together, it's not a 5 hour, 6 hour, which golf tournaments are,
Yeah.
stretch out. It's not an all day event. It's more focused on a smaller time frame.
Correct.
It makes so much sense that people realize that there's so much potential to be able to run a different type of event and get that excitement level.
And as long as there's a flat space, we can set it up anywhere you want to.
Yeah, exactly. That is so good. I want to be respectful of your time. So
Sure.
tell our viewers, how can they get a hold of Jeff and Cornhole ATL? And then I have one final question.
Sure. Yeah. You can email me directly at Jeff, Jeff, at cornholeatl, all one word.com. And you can also check us out at cornholeatl.com, and also our bocce league at atlbocce.com.
Awesome. We'll also put it in the show notes for people if they're driving and they're listening. We don't want you to not focus on your drive.
Don't email me while you're driving.
Unless you're doing a self-driving test.
Exactly. There you go.
It's okay.
That's right. Then it's okay.
But what would be the one thing you would want our viewers to take home from our time on this podcast?
It's a good question. I would say, go play in a cornhole league. Don't be afraid to step out there. It's less so about the actual sport and more so about the social camaraderie. So I think that'd be the biggest takeaway is don't think you can't be part of this if you've never played. Think of it more as a way to meet new people.
Awesome. That saying right there, it just reminds me, because a person was sharing with me the loneliness that we find out there, and people crave relationships. They crave connection. They crave people. We get our energy from people. And so it's so good that those are happening within what you're doing. So
100%. I think there was an article the other day I saw too, Pete, that said like 55% of the U.S. population feels lonely.
Yeah. I think that was similar. I was going like, what? Dang,
so that's we came out of this COVID time, and people were so used to doing stuff virtually. They're trying to get back out there and do stuff in the real world. And I think what we've got is a great outlet for that.
Yeah, that's so true. Well, Jeff, thanks so much for taking the time to be with us, to share your journey, and to really open up people's eyes to what is possible through cornhole and doing something to help grow nonprofits and companies that want to do something different. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on, Pete. I appreciate it.